into the blue. And my mind keeps racing while you're chasing something that you call the truth. I don't know what you're thinking, you've been drinking, baby. I'm not bulletproof. Sometimes I dream away all the things I wish I would have said to you. It's like 1,000 voices in my head telling me how to get through. And I can't stop thinking of a time when everything was simpler. I don't know who you are anymore, but I can't seem to let you go.
Hello and welcome to another week of New Teacher Talk. Today we are chatting all things parent communication. I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks because I know for myself that sometimes is one of the hardest things I have to do as an introverted teacher. Wednesday we're going to chat about having a class website and what you should include on that and what site I use. And then Friday will be about digital learning starting the year off in case we have to do digital learning this fall. So come on in, let me know, what is your go-to method for communicating with parents? I would love to know in the comments. My name is Rachel Vincent, and it is my passion to help new teachers discover how to run an effective and efficient classroom so that they can thrive during their first years of teaching. So for me, I would say that email is probably my number one way of communicating with parents. I actually tell parents at the beginning of the year that email is the quickest and easiest way to get in contact with me because I just want to kind of reinforce that's how I would prefer to communicate. Of course, I do communicate other ways as well, but I just want email to be like the number one go-to. So I am going to break it down into 3 ways that we communicate with parents, digitally, paper, and physical communication. And then I'm going to give some sort of little nuggets on how we can do it this fall if we have to. Distance learning. Hi guys, welcome. I see all your comments coming through. I know there's a delay. So Amy says email for sure. Christine, I'm going into my 10th year and I love these videos. Aw, Christine, that's so sweet of you to say. Go-to method is usually email, short notes home, or quickly chatting at pickup or drop off. Gemma, yes, I totally agree with that as well. Phone calls, email, Class Dojo, notes home. Class Dojo, yes, I use Class Dojo as well. I use it for my behavior management system, so I definitely use it for quick messaging with parents. I have found over the years that like you kind of figure out which method the parent actually likes, so whether they like to use Dojo versus email, and you kind of learn throughout the year like how you need to communicate with each parent. So if you use apps, I was going to chat quickly about apps. If you use something other than Class Dojo, drop that in the comments and let us know what other apps you use. I have used Remind in the past before I started doing Class Dojo, and I enjoyed that one as well. But I'm just curious if there's other ones out there that we haven't talked about. So digital, one of the easiest ways to communicate, we have said, is through email. I actually started several years ago sending a weekly update email where I sort of put sort of the most important information I need parents to know about for that week, because we know, especially in the elementary level, a lot of information comes through. And so I always want to send like that weekly. I usually try to send it every Monday afternoon of here's what's happening this week, here's what's due, here's an important date. And I try to make sure I keep it concise because I know parents are busy. I'm going to talk about this on Wednesday, is the class website. That's where I put a lot of like more detailed information. And so at the bottom of my email, I always say you can see our class website for more details. So that way you can give them that short, quick little snippet of information and then send them to the website if they need more information. Let's chat about apps real quick. So I see some, Lee said Bloom. I've never used that one, so I don't know much about it, but I've heard a lot of teachers say they use that. So I asked a question on my Facebook page for parents of school-age kids, and I specifically asked non-teachers to answer this question of what they liked about parent communication. And one of the big things that a lot of parents who have multiple children said is they don't like having a different app or way for each teacher. It's very overwhelming for them. So I would suggest that you sort of see what the other teachers in your school kind of use to maybe use similar ones. Obviously, everybody in the school using the same one may not be possible, but if you kind of limit the number so that if a parent has 3 kids and one's using Dojo and one's using Bloom and one's using email, like they have 3 different places to go to find information for their kids. So that can be very overwhelming for a parent. So that's just something to keep in mind. Do you use Class Site or Google Sites? Yes, I do use Google Sites. It is the easiest platform to use for creating a class website. It is, oh my gosh, it's like, and if you use Google Drive, like for your documents and things, it's wonderful because you can add a doc onto your site. And then if you fix it over in your Google Drive, it automatically fixes it on your website. So if there's a typo, it is so wonderful. So yes, I'm going to be chatting about that on Wednesday. Another thing that I actually have not done, but I plan on doing this fall, is to create videos to communicate with parents. So I don't know what school's going to look like this fall for us, for us yet. So I plan on creating a welcome video. I plan on creating a video on how to navigate our class website. I am probably going to do like a frequently asked questions, beginning of the year type things, so that in case we don't have like an in-person meet the teacher, I have videos to send to my new parents so that they can get to know me, so that they can get to sort of the things I would probably talk about during Meet the Teacher, or in case, and I think it would just be helpful. So like as new kids come in with new parents, like it'd be an easy way to communicate. So my plan is to make some videos to communicate as well. So paper communication. Also on that Facebook question that I asked, most parents said they like having both digital and paper versions. So I think just like teachers plan differently, families and parents plan differently. So having multiple forms of communication works well. So the easiest thing to send home paper-wise is a newsletter. I've done it in the past where I've done a weekly newsletter, but I have kind of scaled back to now I only do a monthly newsletter because I put so much information on my website. And then you want to think about sort of like trackers, like how do you communicate behavior if you're not using like Class Dojo? How do parents know about behavior in the classroom? That kind of thing. And then I'm curious, how often do you send home graded papers? So I do it weekly. And at first it felt like a lot, but I got into such a routine that it's just second nature now that like every Monday I just get on a schedule. And so I send home graded papers once a week. So that's another way to communicate how parents are doing. Our district, all of their grades and everything are online. So this is that physical form of parents knowing about grades. And I sort of keep a personal policy of I don't want anybody to be surprised when report cards come out. So I'm constantly making sure I communicate how their students are doing throughout as far as academics. And then physical communication, this obviously will probably be limited this year, but the one thing that won't be limited is phone communication. Now, I know for me personally, as an introvert, I'm not a big phone person. I'll text you, I'll email you all day long, but calling and talking is not my thing. I think I've said it in a past video that I don't even enjoy calling to order pizza. Like, I just don't do it. But I know it's very important, and you tend to get more information and get a feel because you can sense tone and things like that when you talk through the phone. So I do call home at the beginning of the year to every single parent. I do my positive phone calls. I try to do it starting the second week of school so that I'm making that positive connection. Usually by the second week of school, you kind of know which students you may need to call home frequently about. So I try to hit them first. So I'm giving them that positive first because you want your first interaction with parents to be positive. So it is very important. And so typically after I do that first initial phone call, I don't call home unless it's like a big deal. And I really need to sort of talk about it instead of just typing it. Unless the parent, I have had, parents who just like to talk on the phone. So sometimes I talk to them more. Conferences is another obviously important way of communicating with parents. I don't know how that will look this fall. I don't know if because I know a lot of schools will be limiting the number of people coming in the building. So it may be virtual conferences, but that's definitely important to communicate with parents so you can communicate both academically and behaviorally during those. And then having different events is always helpful. I know schools typically do school-wide events, but I also try to do like some like class events where parents can come in and see like maybe presentations of projects we do or different things like that, just so that parents feel involved. Because having parents like team up with you to help support their child is so important. I feel like parent relationships are just as important as student relationships, because even though sometimes we may feel like parents don't want to be involved, a lot of times it's because they have sort of their own feelings about school. Maybe they've had a poor experience in education, or maybe they've had teachers in the past for their students that just they just didn't feel right. So getting them on your side and teaming up with them is highly important. So those are just a few tips and ideas of things you can do to really foster that parent communication. Again, it may look completely different this fall and have to be a lot of digital communication because of this virus that we are dealing with. But if you are a new teacher and you would like some more tips or advice, I have a guidebook, a free guidebook you can download of how to rock your first years of teaching. It includes all sorts of information that I wish I would have had my first years of teaching, and I would like to give that to you for free. You can find it at missrachelvincent.com/guidebook. And I hope to see you guys on Wednesday when we will chat about creating a class website. I'm going to show you my class website so you can get some ideas of what to include. And I'm going to show you how to use Google Sites, which is the website platform I use to create mine. And then Friday we'll chat about distance learning this fall, maybe starting the year off with distance learning without having physical students. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday. I will see you on Wednesday.